G'day people, I'm Sharon. Welcome to my channel. Today I'm stitching out design number 008 on Janomi's Memory Craft 15,000. It will be bigger than the ones that I've done before. I'm going to try and do all the little bits and pieces that I've mentioned as making things better now. Aside from the fact that I'm going to do this in what is quite obviously a much larger hoop. I've got a busy fabric to put on the back, and I'm hooping it up. For a bit of difference this time, I'm actually using a wool wadding, which is a bit thicker than the cotton waddings I've been using previously. I'm going to use a different colour in the top of the hoop, and you'll actually see a whole small quilt that I made in this that was in a magazine in, I think it was 2009, when we get to the end. We are ready to sew on the Janomi Memory Craft 15,000. It's a much bigger hoop than the previous ones I've stitched on. This will produce a design that is 9 inches wide. I have got it set to 1 stitch stop, so there's my 1 stitch. The thread I have got in the machine is called lapis lazuli or lapis lazuli. It's a King Tut thread. I've got the same thread in the needle and in the bobbin, so you can actually see there the bobbin thread pulled up. And the value of that is that even if the tension's not quite right, it won't show the top thread on the bottom because they're the same colour. I have actually increased the tension on the machine anyway, so let's get started. Remembering that this first part of the design is just sewing the top to the wadding and the backing, and the wadding and the backing are just loose laid in the machine, in the hoop. You might notice that that seemed to be working a lot faster than the previous machine. I've actually got it stitching at the moment on 1,000 stitches per minute. We're about to do the 1 stitch stop for the next part of it. And I pull up my bobbin thread, hold onto the 2 of them and press start. I think I'm going to lift you up higher so you can see a bit better. Fingers crossed that does the trick. Ready to do the stippling. One stitch stop. So I can pull my bobbin thread up. and finished. With the machine set to run at 1000 stitches per minute, it's an 8-minute design. If I set it to 400 stitches per minute, it is a 15-minute design. So the finished design gets popped out of the hoop. Remember, we're using wool wadding this time, which is a little bit thicker, certainly a bit warmer if you're sleeping under it. I've had some people ask about whether the Quilt As You Go method will be stiffer than it would be whole cloth quilts. Yes, it most definitely will. You'll also find that the more quilting you do on things, the stiffer they will be. However, this will be no stiffer. My method of doing Quilt As You Go will be no stiffer than any other method of Quilt As You Go. You have to put extra fabric around the joins to make it work, and in some ways this one's probably a little bit lighter weight than some of the other methods. Another thing to remember, if you wanted to do, probably need a new blade in my knife now too. If you wanted to do this and put wider borders on, you absolutely could. So instead of cutting this at a little bit under 1/4 of an inch, you could perhaps cut it a little bit under 1/2 an inch, and then the Quilt As You Go edges that cover these joins are a bit bigger and a bit softer. So that's one way to get around it when you're doing Quilt As You Go. The quilt over there, this is the magazine it was in. Machine Embroidery and Textile Art, Volume 16, number 11. And there's my design on page 24. Other people with deep stashes might be able to find the book as well. Same design, just different sizes and a different thread on it. On the back you can see, because it's a busy fabric, you don't see as much of the quilting design, but you also won't see as much of the stitching on the joins. So I hope you've enjoyed this little trip down my memory lane. See you next time.